Yay, thank you, Lord, for this time. August 27. Well, we are in a 21-day fast. Thank you for all that are participating, and to whatever capacity you can, please keep participating. It's powerful when we join together in unity and really hit this prayer request that we're doing with prayer and fasting. So that is a good thing. Well, it's wonderful to have Donna with us, Donna Jollay. She is in Jerusalem or in Israel right now. And so we can hear from her straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. All right, Donna, please share with us all the prayer requests. And by the way, when you're talking, maybe comment on this kite thing, kites, because I was, disappointed to hear the UN, blasting Israel. It's like, oh, you're just getting so upset about a child's toy going across. And it's like, that's not just a child's toy. It normally is. In North
Yeah,
America, it's generally a child's toy, but not
it
in,
should be that
yeah,
it should be just a
right,
child's toy, but
right.
it's horrible actually. So I do want to give you a shout out. I'm so excited that you all are doing the 21-day fast because actually, and you may be aware of this already, but just for everybody to know that we are in a 40 days of repentance that the Jewish people are in right
Yes,
now. So
yes.
this is perfect timing, and that's 40 days, to Rosh Hashanah as well. And so, just Abba is overlaying it beautifully, and with this group, how you're so connected. It's such a blessing to be here. So, I want to give a shout out for that. I'm so sad. Well, I'm not that sad. I wish I could be there for the upcoming gathering with Lou, September 11th. I'm going to be in Israel, so I'm not going to get upset that I'm going to have to be in Israel instead.
Yeah,
But
no problem.
I've just been so blessed by Lou recently, and listening to some of his prayers, and he's calling it out. He's praying for Israel, but he's also calling out what's happening in the United States, and they're connected. How Israel is being treated is impacting the U.S. as well. And it's all tied in with what you were just mentioning. I want to show you this, get it in front of me. Can you see that? It's a dog tag and it says never again. And it's got 10/7, the date of 10/7 on it. And then there's that yellow ribbon. And so these were all over Israel, and lots of Israel lovers in the US had them. And when the last, I'm going to try not to get too emotional, but I can't help it. When the last hostage was returned in January of this year, there was actually like a public thing where Netanyahu took his yellow ribbon off. He wore it on his lapel, and he took it off, in response to that last hostage being released. But I wish that was the reality. I wish that was the case. Both the land and the people are still being held hostage, have been being held hostage ever since the miraculous rebirth of Israel in 1948. And all the years until then, she's constantly being attacked, just as you said. I mean, for the UN to be calling out Israel not sitting back and letting these kites, their trials, their testing the limits. And this is exactly what they did before October 7th. They'd send kites over, and then they started sending kites with incendiary devices on them that would catch the fields on fire, and it burned hundreds of acres of farmland and communities all around the Gaza Strip. But this all happened before October 7th, right? And so now here, the enemies of God, they're so smart, the terrorists, let me call them what they are. Sorry, my kitty cat's like wants to be a part of what's going on. Um, yeah, they are so sneaky and duplicitous, and it's like, oh, look at big bad mean Israel. We can't even can't even fly kites. And the UN is totally That was just 3 years ago. And it was before the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust, right? And to act like, oh, it's Israel being overreactive and the big mean, Israelis, or, won't even let the Palestinians fly kites. It's just, I'm a little upset about it if you can't tell. So, and this is exactly the topic that I wanted to touch on, because I love it, Patricia. Last time I was on, you made a comment about, that I'm a watchman on the wall, right? And so I'm going to be
For sure.
trumpeting, and I
Hmm.
can't help it. And someone needs to do it. And, for us, if we can't do anything in action, the best thing we can do in lieu of actual action is to pray and intercede. And this is such an important group, to be aware of this, because this is your heart. This is, what you all live and breathe. And this is why I love being a part of this. And I just appreciate being included,
Thank you.
because I mean, this is the facts on the ground. Israel, the land and the people, are still being held hostage. And this infuriating kite thing is a perfect example of it. And they always want to make like a moral equivalency. The other, one of my other hot buttons, Judea and Samaria, of course, and then the settler violence, the quote unquote settler violence. That's bubbling up again, and they want to make it there are incidents that happen. They're usually provoked. There's an organization called Regavim. I'm going to post their website in the chat, regavim.org. They actually have gone through all the UN data, so the UN will say that there's like, 8,000 settler violence incidents in Judea and Samaria, or Israel, but especially in Judea and Samaria. They'll call it the West Bank, of course. They don't report any of the Arab violence that is happening, where literally families are, and portions of families are getting slaughtered, just for being Jews, in Judea and Samaria. I was blessed to have Shabbat with Rabbi Leo D, just week before last. And Robert Stearns brought 80 young leaders over, and they actually went and they had Shabbat dinner. We broke up into little groups of like, five, less than 10. And so went into people's homes in Efrat, which is just outside of Bethlehem, which that's another thing I want to touch on real quick. And it was incredible. But Rabbi Leo D, in April at Pesach, it was Passover of 2023, just before, months before October 7th, he and his family were going for a Passover Seder, and they were driving past Jericho. And they were in two cars. Their family was so big that they couldn't all fit in one car. They were in two cars, and the wife and two teenage daughters were following behind. And a terrorist opened fire on them and murdered his wife and two daughters just for driving on the road in Judea and Samaria. Have you ever heard of that? Where's the UN for that? I mean, this isn't like a
Right.
fire that was set by Palestinians and then blamed on Israelis, which that happens all the time as well. This is literally a slaughter of a portion of a family. And so I was blessed to have dinner with him, Shabbat dinner with him just week before last. And he's remarried now, and
Mm.
got to see his family. And so, this is the Jewish way and the Jewish um, resilience, and just incredible faith and moving forward. But you never hear about that. And so Regavim has gone through all the accused incidents of settler violence, and have researched, what the sources were, which a lot of times the sources are something like the Gaza Health Ministry, which of course is Hamas, right?
Right,
And so
right.
you're getting these reports from unfriendlies, people who literally want to destroy the Jews in Israel are given the reports in the first place. And then the majority of them were like even a traffic accident that happened. If there a Jewish person was involved in a traffic accident, that is called settler violence. A Jew going up to the Temple Mount, that is classified as settler violence. A Jew going up to the Temple Mount. I mean, it's so crazy. So anyway, I could go on and on and on about it, but I just encourage everybody on here, you have got such the hearts for Israel and for intercession, and there's so much education that needs to happen. There's such a vacuum when it comes to truth, and the enemy has stepped into that void and is just selling these lies left and right. So anyway, I just want to, hammer that point that, Israel, the land and the people are still being held hostage. And so please, let's just really press into that God would let his people go. I know Tommy Waller is on here frequently.
Yeah.
Did he mention, has he mentioned on here that the UN is actually sanctioning them?
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Wow.
it's so crazy. It's crazy.
What are they doing that they would deserve that? Like they're just
They're
having their,
supporting settler violence.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, yes. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. It's so the UN has been taken over by a bunch of Israel hating, Jew hating nations. I mean, it's literally Iran was on the Human Rights Council. They were the head of the Human Rights Council.
Yeah.
Iran. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So, okay, I'll try and dial myself back down a little bit.
And
But
in your talk today, please also include the election because we want to know how to pray about the election.
okay. And the next thing I was going to talk about. So, I wanted to really emphasize how the lies, the deception, the attacks against Israel are so huge still, and the kite incidents. Did I make that clear about the kites? Is that pretty clear what's going on there?
Yes, that was helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Um, and so just to kind of bring it to the biblical sources that are the root of this. So there are three places in Israel that are recorded to have been purchased by the Hebrews in the land of Israel. One is Shem, which is in Samaria in the north, which is just below where Ha-Yovel is. Ha-Yovel is on the Mount of Blessings. There's the Mount of Blessings and the Mount of Curses. There's a valley in between, and that's where this town of Shem is. And this is where David and his brothers would come, and they'd bring their sheep to the north to graze. And Dinah was there. There's so much biblical history that's there. Well, it's a huge Arab town with a lot of terrorists in it right now. So it's one of the most contested places on earth. So all three of these places that are recorded that were purchased by the Hebrews in the Bible are the most contested places on the earth. Isn't that interesting? and so that's a good data point to press in prayer, right? Because to return that land to its original owner. Hebron is the second, is the one, is another one of them, and that's where the cave of the patriarchs is, where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Rebecca, Sarah, and Leah are all buried, and everybody agrees to this. All the Arabs, because they're of Abrahamic descent as well. So this isn't it's not contested as to whether this is where Abraham lived and was buried. But what's contested is if there's a Jewish presence there, or history, or if there's any Jewish claim to it. That's contested. And then the third one is Jerusalem, the threshing floor. So the three most contested places on the planet are the ones that it's recorded in the Bible were purchased. So that's just a very interesting, a really good grounding place for us to stand on. We can stand on the word that way as we're praying for it. And the battle is great. And then Bethlehem is in there as well. And if we don't care about Bethlehem, we really don't we don't have enough of a connection or relationship to Israel to really be able to pray for her the way that we need to. Bethlehem has been taken over by terrorists. It got divided and given over to the Palestinian Authority. It used to be 85% Christian. Now it's less than 10. I was there. I visited in 2000 when it was still 85% Christian. It's now down to 10. And soon, so that's already no Jews allowed under threat of death. The IDF says, if you go in, it's at your own risk. We can't protect you. No Jews already. Jesus wouldn't be welcome in Bethlehem today unless you wrapped him up in a keffiyeh and he called himself a Palestinian. And soon no Christians are going to be there as well. I mean, so this isn't hyperbole. This isn't, being paranoid. This is literally happening. The mayor of Bethlehem shut down Christmas for the last several years in support with Hamas. The mayor of Hebron is a convicted murderer. He participated directly in killing 6 yeshiva boys on the streets of Hebron. Yes, convicted murderer is the mayor of Hebron. Unbelievable. So we need to understand this, and we need to understand how deep it is. So that's some of the awfulness of it. But tying in with the elections and the current government that's in there, you will frequently hear Smotrich and Ben-Gvir badmouthed because they are they're so biblically grounded, and they're so wanting the Jewish people to stand in their full identity that they can be kind of Trumponian, Ben-Gvir especially, and just, there's things that Trump says that I'm like, that make me cringe a bit, how he says it and what he says at times. And that's Ben-Gvir, right? And so, but what he does is off the charts. And it takes that kind of personality to stand up against the deep state and the enemies of God and how they're coming against us. So they are they're in a very small party, but they are like even though they're small, they are the ones who give Netanyahu the majority to be able to run the government. And so they've got a lot of influence and power. And they already, before October 7th, had started doing some things. But since October 7th, I've just got to bring this good report because there's stuff to celebrate as well. Hallelujah. So they are changing from a military authority over Judea and Samaria to a civilian authority. And that may sound, how can that be better? It's 100% better because it will make the Jewish people of Judea and Samaria citizens of Israel with all the amenities and support and local police. Because right now, with the military being over it, it makes it very the military doesn't want things to get disrupted at all, and so they unfortunately cater to the terrorists more than to the Jews because they don't want there to be violence or conflict. And so, for example, there's so much illegal building within Area C that's supposed to be the Jewish part of Israel. It's like tens of thousands of houses. Jewish people can build maybe 10. And so, but they allow the Arabs who are funded by the European Union and various NGOs are pouring hundreds of or millions of dollars into building these illegal structures. So by switching it over to the civil authority, that will give the Jews full liberty to build in that areas that are already internationally recognized as for them. Machpelah, the cave in Hebron, where Abraham is, there's an elevator that got installed. They're putting a covering they haven't been able to do for the entire time that they've been there since 1948, because they're switching over to civil authority as well. They're taking the authority away from the PA, and they're giving it to the Jewish authority there. So there are so many changes. and Route 60, the biblical highway, has been officially renamed Derek HaTanakh, which is the highway of the Bible. So there's all these things that are happening, so you don't probably hear a lot about these things because, I mean, hello, Iran and, the Houthis and Gaza and everything else is all going on. But this government that's in place right now it's the best government for Israel ever. They are
Wow.
actually
Wow.
they are applying sovereignty to Judea and Samaria. Hallelujah. And we have been a part of, praying and interceding for that. But I mean, there's so much more that needs to be done. So I hope, that it continues. It appears that the majority of Israelis are with this program. They know that they can't go back to pre-10/7
Mm.
and what that gets. So I believe it's at least 70% of Israelis support applying sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, which of course you'll hear lots of reports that are different than that. But that is being here in the land with the people, talking to people that I think it looks much more optimistic. Of course, Israel is in a similar situation to the U.S. There's within the power structure, there's a deep state, and so there's lots of powers within that are going to be fighting against. And then there's the lefties, the woke lefties, that want to partner up with the woke lefties in the U.S. As well. And so hopefully, we'll maintain the same government for now. That one of the things that I heard recently was that even if they don't support Netanyahu, they don't know who else could be running the country in the circumstances. So even the people that don't like Netanyahu are, after October 7th, they're laying down, not all of them, there's still radicals out there. They're laying it down. But we just want to pray, very specifically, because and Netanyahu is a bit of a Saul right now. So Saul, God told Saul to wipe out the Amalekites that, had to eliminate them, right? And Saul let the king live, and that's why this problem has continued. And so Netanyahu's in a precarious position. I'm not saying it's an easy position, but he's being held back, with the Gaza and now the UN and kites and all this kind of stuff. And they're not that this is an example of Israel being held hostage still. And so, to that Netanyahu would get the spirit of King David to be able to press forward and do what needs to be done. He's done it already so many times, so not to say that he hasn't done it at all. He's done it in so many ways. But we're just in this weird limbo right now with Gaza and, of course, Lebanon and everything else. And so, and if he's not the right man that God would raise up whoever is his man to bring Israel to the next level.
I feel sorry for him in some ways because even the fact that it was his oldest son that was this threat from Iran on his life, so
Yair.
so
Yep.
then he had to flee Miami. I mean,
Yep.
and then do you have a quick comment on this accusation of his wife? Because I just thinking, I don't know what to believe. Like, I just feel there's so many things coming against Netanyahu. It's shocking he's still standing. But now, his wife, she looks like a sweet person to me, but I don't, any comments on that? Like, meaning,
Yeah. So
yeah,
we have a very similar situation. All the court cases and accusations and persecutions against Trump and his family,
yeah. Oh,
they were literally deplatformed from their banks.
oh, wow.
The Trump family, Donald Trump, he wasn't the current president, is in the interim. He was
Mm,
the former president, and Chase, I think it was,
mm,
that he had bank accounts with them for decades, and they
okay.
literally said that they could not do business with him anymore. He was literally, the Trump family was debanked, and all the accusations and everything, same thing. same thing that's going on. So, it's like the settler violence,
Okay,
they're,
right.
yeah, it's just a big smoke screen, and it's, of course, everybody's humans, nobody's perfect, right? But
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. I mean, I hate that I even have to say that, because the extreme of the accusations and everything that come up, but same thing. And then the fake news, right? So everybody cites Haaretz and Jerusalem Post and all this. Well,
Right.
Haaretz is extremely left wing, just like our media is in the States. You can't
Mm-hmm.
believe anything that's going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording. That was really informative. Thank